Love, light, and blessings. This is Shamanic Wet Priestess here, and I wanted to make this video. This is a video response to the wonderful Diane Jarecki. I love watching her channel. She and I have something in common. We both have worked at the psychic hotline. She has recently returned to that. Haven't been on the psychic hotline in like 3 months. I feel bad. It's just I've been traveling a lot. Um, Ever since I opened my side business, I've been getting new clients and clients that have been reading with me for years, and also drawing in new clients and things like that. So, really investing time into that. And as of the last 2 weeks, I've also been bringing my services on the road as far as my shamanism. There's people that have hired my services, contracted my services to do things as house blessings or exorcisms, contacting ancestors, things like that, and having spiritual services in their residence. And that has been out of state, mostly New York. So I had to travel to do that. And they paid for my traveling expenses and as well as, for the service itself, because they wanted that service to be face to face instead of via Skype, which I do as well. But there are some things you can't do via Skype. I don't do exorcism, for example, via Skype. Um, in that sense. There's just some things I don't feel comfortable when it comes to shamanism and spiritual work that I would do via Skype. It would be better face to face, and I know not everybody could afford that, so and that's perfectly fine. So that's what I've been doing. Okay, so getting on to the video now. I'm sorry, I'm shuffling my cards just because that's what I do when I try to relax a little bit, because I'm going to be getting into this video, and I don't really like giving my opinions too much about certain things, because I try to make my channel a safe place for everybody. Um, but she raised up a really interesting topic, and I have to say she addressed the topic in a very respectful way. And that topic was, should fortune telling be illegal? And she talks on that video. I'm going to try to link the original video on here. I'm not good at that, Diana, so if I'm unable to do that, I apologize. But I will give your channel information. I'll try to find some way to give you credit for the original video. Um, she was talking about a case they had in Pennsylvania where this lady did like really expensive readings or whatever, and she would charge people these outrageous prices to do spiritual healings. But it was like scare tactics, like kind of making it seem like if you don't do this, you will die tomorrow. Give me the money now, now, now. And so charges have been brought on her for that. And I perfectly understand that because she was victimizing people. Um, Now, as far as fortune telling becoming illegal, I 100% don't agree with that because this is what I do for a living. I am a psychic, and I have the gift of being able to see into the future. It's what I do. It's 100% of what my readings are about. My readings are predictive, and I've noticed that um, wasn't until I joined the YouTube community I started noticing a trend. Like there's a lot of people that are against that. Um, they don't read that way. Even if they're professional readers, they're more counselors, and that's fine. Everybody's practice, everybody's practice. What I do have a problem with is whenever those same people would judge someone like me who is a person who does psychic readings, who is a person who can actually foresee the future. I'm not saying everybody can do that, but I genuinely can. I have a very high clientele base, a very high number of returning clients. I've been doing professional readings for 4 years, mostly on the psychic hotline. And since the last 9 or 10 months, I started doing a side business where I have my own website, shamanicaracpriestess.com. And that's the site that I've mostly been doing. I haven't been able to go on the psychic hotline in 3 months because my side business had been taken off. I'm very grateful to the spirits for that. My readings are psychic. like my readings. And I also see people having problems with people who do third party readings. Why? Like I do that. Just because you don't believe in it or just because that's not something you want to do, that's fine. Everybody's spirituality and ethics are different. I don't see anything ethically wrong with channeling the thoughts of others. And if my loyalty is to my client, and if my client wants to know what X person is thinking about, what such and such person's intentions are towards them, I don't have a problem with that. Um, Most of my readings are psychic, but there are times that a client may request that they want spiritual work done. Now, this is where I defer. I do not make a client feel like if they don't do work, they're going to die tomorrow. I don't give them unrealistic expectations like I'm going to resurrect somebody from the dead or I'm going to cure your aunt's cancer through this stuff. I do not do that. I try to be very ethical in what I do, but rituals and all that stuff. I'm fifth generation. Culandera, bruja, espiritista, sancista. African spirituality is something that's in my bloodline. Okay, and so just because you don't understand something doesn't mean you have the right to judge that. Are there charlatans that pretend to be something? Yes. And that's when I feel cultural appropriation comes into place. That's the true definition of cultural appropriation. Taking somebody else's culture, either whitewashing it or pretending to be initiating a tradition you know nothing about, and then to go and charge for those said services. You have no idea how many channels I've seen of fake people claiming to be initiated into Santeria and Voodoo talking about voodoo dolls. There is no such thing as voodoo dolls and voodoo. There is no such thing as that. I have people from Haiti that have said, I don't know why they say that because that's not true. Actual Haitians have told me that's not a real thing. I've had people, I grew up around Santeria. I grew up around African spirituality. I grew up around people getting possessed. And a lot of the claims they make on the internet or on these little psychic sites or whatever you want to call it is fake. People that are charging $56,000 for rituals, nah. Now, with that being said, judging somebody because they may charge $1,000 to $2,000 for spiritual work or initiation into a religion, that's also wrong too. Because if that person is actually legitimate, it takes a lifelong practice in order for you to even call yourself a santera, a mambo, a hugan, a palero, a babalu. It takes so much work. You're also investing monetary stuff to your teacher because that person is taking time out of their lives to teach you. Therefore, they might be attending to less clients. You have to pay for that person's time. So you have to pay to initiate into a lot of these traditions. Money is invested in this stuff. Time is invested into this stuff. There are certain tools I have to order because it's not available to me in America. I have to order from other countries certain herbs and things like that for me to do certain rituals. I may have to travel to somebody. I may have to make candles or make mojo bags or grease bags or things like that. That costs money. I shouldn't have to pay out of pocket to do something for somebody else if this is how I make my living. So I don't have a problem with charging certain fees for work if the person is a legitimate root worker, if the person is someone who legitimately is initiated or has a bloodline and has been practicing that spirituality for X amount of years. If you are a true person and working in an ethical sense, you have the right to charge whatever you want. You know, there's people that are like, oh, you shouldn't charge X amount for a psychic reading. Why? My readings start at $62. And I'm actually cheaper than a lot of people who work on the hotline. There's people on the hotline that charge $10 a minute because in the hotlines you're paid for certain minutes. I also charge per minute rates as well. My rates are 50% cheaper than it is if you were to book me on the psychic line because they take X amount of money on the psychic line. I can afford to charge less on my site because I get more of the cut. I don't get all the money I charge, but I get more of the cut because it also takes money for me to run my website. It also takes money for me to do my practice and buy the tools that I need and all that kind of stuff for me to be able to dedicate myself to this fully. Right now, I'm under the mentorship of somebody in a tradition that it's a little bit newer to me, but it's still bloodline. You know, um, Teachers that I've had, I've given them things because they're giving me their time. I don't see anything wrong with that. In order to do an initiation, they have to get certain tools. Sometimes for certain rituals, you need to call up a bunch of people and you have to pay all those people for their time. So the person who's sometimes doing stuff for people really isn't making much of a profit because of the overhead. Sometimes healings have to be done in other parts of the country. Sometimes, again, it has to be more than one person. Sometimes the person who's doing something for you may actually put themselves in danger because taking on spirits, doing exorcisms, and all that stuff, the person who's doing that for you is putting themselves at risk because there is, whether you believe this or not, and you have the right not to, there are certain malevolent spirits that do bad things that will try to harm the person who's trying to help you. I don't see a problem with charging for services if you are actually someone who's legitimate and you're not a scam artist and you're not scaring people and you're not bullying people. If someone chooses of their own free will, yes, I want to do this. And again, I rarely do anything like that anymore. And when I do, I always give a legal disclaimer. My website has a legal disclaimer. When you book any type of ritual with me, and I don't allow just anybody to do rituals or for me to perform rituals. First, I have to talk to my spirits. That is going to require a consultation. I have to see if you even need anything because just because somebody says you're cursed doesn't mean you are. 9 out of 10 times, the person is not cursed. 9 out of 10 times is either like somebody who was a charlatan told them that, or it's in their head. It's actually things they're doing that they may not, that they may not realize that you can actually fix in the mundane world. 9 to 10, and then if a ritual is required, that's also very rare too. So let's say you are crossed, that just may require you to take a spiritual bath, and I may do a consultation, say, hey, take this bath for X amount of times. I will actually in the consultation teach you how to make a spiritual bath, teach you how to maybe pray a certain prayers, give you the prayers, like certain candles, and you could do that by yourself. Because I like to empower my clients. Like there are things that you can spiritually do yourself, and I can help you with that, so that you can actually manifest or break your own stuff. That's important for people to learn how to protect themselves, and I like to offer those tools as well. But there are times when it is beyond that person, and they're like, either they are in a situation where they can't light candles or make spiritual baths for themselves, so they require me to do something from my home, or they require me to come to them and do something. That's when, yes, I'm going to charge for that. One, if I have to travel to you, I shouldn't have to pay for my traveling expenses out of pocket. I'm coming to you, right? It's for service. Just like if you hire somebody to plan a wedding planner, the wedding planner is not going to pay for their own travel expenses. They're planning your wedding, so they want to get paid for a service. This is also a service. Yes, I care and I love every single person that I work with. You guys mean everything to me. I am very rewarded. I have wonderful clients. I've had rarely have I ever had a bad experience. I think maybe 1 or 2 times in the last 4 years is not that bad. Um, but even like I said with rituals, I say it on my site, I work with very few people. Um, when it comes to doing any type of work with them, it's something that we're going to work on together. So you may have to do certain things, I have to do certain things, and all that stuff is very exhausting because it's not just lighting a candle and woo, everything's perfect. Your healing or your work can take anywhere from 1 day to 9 days to 30 days, and it could take anywhere from me sitting on my altar and working on your situation an hour to 2 to 3 to 4 hours a day. And if you start to calculate that, that's anywhere from 7 to 28 hours a week on one person's case. A real true root worker should be compensated for their time because while they're doing your work, that's going to make them take on less clients to do readings for because they're going to be like, I'm booked up. Why? Because they have to dedicate that night doing your work. So then that person's making less money. They have to be able to be compensated for that. And the tools, the herbs, the candles that they have to put out of pocket for that. They need to be reimbursed for that. And there are certain spirits they want you to buy them things or give them offerings. Not all offerings to spirits are cheap. Certain ancestors like they have expensive tastes. Why should the root worker have to pay out of pocket for that? When I do any type of work for anybody, I always tell you exactly what you need to expect, what the work entails, and what the outcome is. More or less how long it should take. I've had occasions where people didn't listen to me, and I'm like, that's why your stuff, and it's very rare, because nobody's 100%, but it's mostly been because of they disrespected the spirit. You disrespect the spirit's not going to want to help you. They're like, people, I want to help somebody. And there's a lot more people I have turned down for work because they want me to do things that I don't want to do. That my spirits say, no, you're not going to do that. And I don't, because if my spirits are not in agreement with me that they want to do something, because they're the energy that's going to do that work for me, I'm channeling them and they're gonna actually get the work done. If they don't want to work with you, I'm not gonna go against my spirits, make them angry at me. If they say no, it's no. And that's why I always try to do a consultation first. If it was really about money, I would just be doing work for everybody, taking a whole bunch of money and getting rich off of it. I don't believe in that. There's a time and a place for that practice. It's a very sacred practice. And unfortunately, I feel that there's people that are not even from the culture that are, or even if they are from the culture, they never really grew up in it. So they just claim like, yeah, I do all this stuff, but you're like, no, you don't. You have not had the training, nor did you grow up around it. You're lying. There are charlatans. There's psychics that are charlatans. Oh yeah, I'm a psychic, or I'm a reader, and they just lying, and they don't even have any type of gift. They don't even know how to read a deck of cards, and they're charging money, and you're like, okay, making up stuff. So there's charlatans in everything. But we cannot let the few rotten apples make them go against the real people, because root work, voodoo, santeria, ifa, the Taino spirituality that I practice, the African lineage that I practice, it's in my blood. I grew up in this. This has been something in my family since the 1800s. Since I could trace back one of my earliest ancestors that touched the isla de Puerto Rico. And you have to understand that for some people outside of Western society, there are countries of people that are starving. There are countries of people that have no access to healthcare. They have no access to things. And the spiritual part of us is the only thing they have left, is the only hope that they have. And to them, it's a way of life. To me, my spirituality is a way of life. It's who I am. There's always some type of ritual going on in my house, whether it's for a client or for myself. There are candles lit and there are workings going on in my house on a daily basis. I am talking and communing with the spirits and having rituals almost on a daily basis. This practice is my life. It's what I've dedicated my life to. And I try to be as ethical as I can be with it. I do not feel bad for the prices that I charge because I feel that I am worth it. I know there's people like, well, I wouldn't do that, and that's fine. Your practice is your practice. My practice is my practice. You know, I like to fortune tell. I have the gift of seeing into the future. I have the gift of reading the thoughts and channeling the thoughts of others. I have the gift of knowing when something's going to happen and being able to provide time frames. I have the gift of healing. It is something that was taught to me. And I just started calling myself a shaman after 13 years. 13 years. It's going to be 13 years that I've been in this path. It's going to be 13 years. And I just started calling myself a shaman. Because shamanism is something that takes a whole life to learn. And shamanism is something that goes beyond just reading a book. Like, it's something that is just so much deep. There's so much secrecy to it. It's a science. There's science to voodoo. There's science to shamanism. The way that the herbs are used and stuff, there's actual scientific properties to that. And in some places in the world, that's all they have is that shaman or that mambo or that hugan. And they're very revered, and the town provides for them a place to live. And they're not the richest people in the world, but they're comfortable. And I believe in that, honoring that, because I come from a country that's not rich either, that does that with their spiritual advisors as well. That's actually seen as something to be revered. And people give what they can when they serve because they're so grateful for these services, because they can't go to a doctor. They go to their local medicine woman or man that makes these natural remedies and heals them, you know? So let's look at it from the outside too. These are also cultural traditions. And while there's some people that are charlatans, there's a lot more real people that are the real woo workers. There are a lot more people that are genuinely really are psychic, that can really foresee things. And that should not be made illegal. We should not be persecuted because there's people that do fraud. Because to me, psychic stuff like psychic readings and all that stuff and spiritual work, that's religion to me. That's my freedom of speech. That's my right to practice my religion because Peritismo is my religion. The African spirituality and native, that's my religion. That's who I am. And that should not be taken away from me because of what other people do. That's the problem that I had with like certain states like Pennsylvania and New York making laws that discriminate against psychics because of a few charlatans saying that we can't make powders and stuff. Most of my culture is making powders for healing. That's what most of my culture is. And that's why I said I don't really work with anybody spiritually. It's a very few and select group. And they have to do a disclaimer because I have to protect myself legally. And that's a shame that I have to go through all of that because there's a few people that want to sit there and lie. And that's why I don't have rituals on video because I don't want anybody stealing my work and then making money off of it when they're not even from that tradition. They're lying and they're deceiving people. I don't want to be part of the problem. Is why you don't see me do spells and things on my channel. I try to be very careful. I don't want people using my spirituality to like hurt people. You know, that's how I feel. I'm just tired of the fake people. I'm tired of like the misconceptions. Like you'll have people like, oh yeah, because you know in African spirituality they just sit there and torture some animals, which is not true. Not all African spirituality even has animal sacrifices, and the ones that do, it's only someone who is initiated and who has actually earned the right to do something like that. And even with that, it's not, it's something that's rarely done on extreme cases. Okay, and it is no different than a hunter going to the woods and hunting to feed their family. There's no difference between someone who is of a Jewish faith and eats meat and wants to buy meat that's kosher, that's blessed and killed a certain way, or someone that wants to buy meat that's halal meat, which Muslims like that in their religion they call it halal meat. It's a religious practice that is protected by the constitutions of the United States, by the way. That case, they go up to the Supreme Court. But animal sacrifices is not what you see on TV. Nobody's sitting there stabbing animals, ripping wings off of them. Nobody does that. What it means is there's a reason why that's done. It's not done very commonly. And it's kind of like I dated someone who is a chicken farmer. My last relationship, we're together on and off for 6 years. And I've seen him when he would sell the chickens sometimes when they're too old and stuff like that and money was tight. He would sell his chicken and he would be very sad because to him that was a sacrifice. And he will kill them. And he goes in the back and he will slit their throat, you know, drain the blood. And then either like if they paid him extra, he would like, you know, cut it up or give it to the person like that. And they will go home and, you know, defeather it and stuff like that. It is no different than that because when somebody's doing that in a religious practice, the person is taught how to kill the animal as humanely as possible. Okay. And that meat, the first of it that's cooked, is given to the spirits. And then the rest of it is partaken by the participants of the ritual. And that meat is used to feed a community. In some places in the world, that's the only meal they have. And they do that because they want financial help. They have corruptions in governments. Voodoo in Haiti was how the people of Haiti freed themselves from their French oppressors. Okay? Nat Turner used a form of medicine sometimes, okay, to try to do a slave uprising. So we have to also look at where these practices come from. There's a science to it. And I just don't like when people exploit cultures and then try to make money off of it. When a real root worker, first of all, would never use fear to make somebody do something and to basically bankrupt people or make them fearful. That is wrong. Most crossing conditions and hexes could be broken with a simple candle work or a bath. There are extreme cases where an actual exorcism has to be performed, but those are rare and few in between. And yes, they are compensated. And yes, they're going to cost you something because, again, I have to hire other people to do that with me because I have to be safe. You know, that's my 2 cents. I don't want anybody lumping me in with those people. And I've been very afraid to make a video about certain things because there's just a lot of misconceptions with African spirituality. There is no such thing as a voodoo doll. That is Hollywood. Okay. There's a such thing as spirit dolls in certain traditions, but you're not gonna stick a pin in somebody's doll and the person's leg's gonna fall off or their heart. No, that's fake. That is not a real thing. Um, you know, so there is a beauty to a lot of these religions. There is ancestors and ancestors whose only thing they had was their religion. They kept them moving forward. They gave them ties to their African heritage, to their Taino and Arawak heritage. There is so much infusion, even in the Taino spirituality with Santeria and Voodoo. There is native aspects to that religion. Because the Tainos and the Africanos, when they were running away from slavery and going into the mountains, they were sharing secrets and they infused a lot of their religions together. And there is Catholicism in it used to hide the religion. It's a very, in my opinion, there's a lot of power to it because of the people that came before that did everything, sometimes even had to die in order to keep those spiritual practices going. And I am honored that in my family we kept it going. And I am honored that I have a mother who's teaching me things now. I am honored that I have one of my beautiful sisters that's teaching me things that I never knew, that she's taking me under her wing and is just giving me the secrets. And then my mom's passing the torch to me. And I'm so honored that I'm passing that on to my children. But people like this person that's a scam artist makes it hard for people like me that legitimately are the real deal. So upset because then it's like everybody starts to lump us together. I have felt sometimes like out of place in the community sometimes because of certain ideas that people have of what I do. Um, and like I said, there are African spiritual practices that don't even involve blood at all, like Espiritismo Sancista doesn't really has anything to do with blood. But whether they do or they don't, the point is we need to respect people's belief system. And just because you don't believe in something doesn't mean that you have the right to make somebody else feel bad about it. Or telling somebody, well, I don't know how somebody could pay for this or that, because that's your thing. There are people that they do charge more because that's what they do for a living. That's what they do on a full-time basis. Some people only have one income. Like me, I'm a single mother with 4 kids, you know? So we have to look at people's situation. And again, I grew up in a culture where that's not unheard of. You pay what you pay. You charge what you charge. It's up to the person to pay for that. So that wasn't really my problem with the story. They want to pay that much for a reading. My problem was more of the fear tactics and the abuse that the person did by scaring them to the point where they were so desperate because they felt like, oh my God, you're going to die. And I've seen that before. I've seen readers that actually be like, if you don't pay me $10,000 right now, you're going to leave my house and you're going to get hit by a car. That's crazy. That's evil. Because if that was really the case, and let's say a client actually had that, like what happened, whether they had money or not, I'm going to warn you about it. Hey, look, I've had a situation where I told somebody, you're not meant to leave your house today. I saw you in a car accident, like be careful. That person didn't leave their house and there was a car accident outside their home. So that was accurate. Like the spirit was saying, stay home today. He was like, if I would have went outside, it would have been my car instead. You see what I'm saying? Why do I have to charge for that? We're already in a reading. So if that's a life and death, I'm going to warn you about it. Just don't go outside, right? I'm just saying. Let's not lump all of us with that one lady. I feel like the spirits can call people outside of a culture too. It's happened to me before too. And what I do is I go to somebody who's of that culture, and whether I pay for the time or we exchange something, they help me to understand things so I could work with that spirit appropriately, and vice versa. And that's okay, because like spirits do that. Like you may not be African, but an African spirit might be like, hey, I want you to serve me, and I want to help you with this situation. Then you go to somebody who's in that lineage and you ask, hey, that's why I made those videos about the Orishas and Santa Muerte, because there were people that were like, hey, I'm outside the tradition, but like this spirit came to me and I try to give you like just how to work with them respectfully and a little intro. Of course, if you want more information, you would go to somebody for that actual one-on-one mentorship, but just to get a head start, there's nothing wrong with that because the person is asking. They're respectfully asking and they're not making things up, right? They're not selling services saying, yes, I am real powerful balera and blah blah blah. And then you come to find out they don't even know nothing about that practice and they were never even initiated. And they scam people out of a lot of money. That's wrong, because you don't know what that person did to get that money to give that to you. You know what I mean? So much love, light, and blessings. Hopefully this video wasn't too much of a tangent. I love everybody, and I just want us to all, understand that, spirituality is a cultural thing. So what may seem weird to somebody else, like spirit possession, like, what do you mean you let spirits possess you? And why is that person speaking in tongues? Or why is that person moving a certain way? Or whatever the case may be. That may seem different to an outsider, but for people like me that grew up in that, my kids, they could see people getting possessed with spirits and they'll just walk around and eat dinner and see mommy doing exorcisms on people. Like to them, that's an everyday thing. I grew up like that too. Like that's a common thing for us. You know what I mean? Channeling and ancestors coming through and passing spirits. Like we grew up like that. So to us is, oh, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? So, but some people are like, oh my goodness. But there's practices that I've seen in other cultures that I'm like, oh, but I'm like, okay, because what may seem different to me may be really common for them, and what may seem common to me may be different to you. So everybody's path is everybody's path, and that's pretty much my 2 cents. I feel that let's just not make the mistake of lumping people up or trying to make somebody feel bad because they may charge more than you do for services. Again, everybody's practice is everybody's practice. Okay. Love, light, and blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to work on me on a one-on-one basis, shamanic-priestess.com. Again, I do predictive readings. I do provide time frames. I do read third parties. And I do rituals for very select clients and only after a consultation. And if you actually really need it, which most of the time people don't. So much love, light, and blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to make a video, I don't know, sometime within a week's time frame, because I really do want to do a video about signs and symptoms of a person who might need some type of ritual performed, whether it's by somebody else or to be performed on themselves, like you do it yourself. Okay, love, light, and blessings. Bye, guys. Love you.